Hello, class. Now, every one of you should have a copy of today's article right in front of you. It's article number 1. This is the first article that we'll be annotating together. So please follow along with me as I demonstrate to you my expectations for article annotations using this Elmo projector. So the article that we're reading today is Retelling a Classic in 2018, The Debate Over To Kill a Mockingbird, How Creators and Educators Are Grappling with Problematic Text for Today's Audience. Now, my expectations for the annotations, they're up here in this box. I included some brief instructions. What I'll be looking from you today is, as we read through this article, I want to see you mark it up. So you'll start off first by numbering the paragraphs. And we can do that right now. So if you look at each one of these little paragraphs, there should be a space in between. I just want you to go ahead and number all of those. Now, sometimes you'll see a paragraph that's only one sentence long. And for the sake of this assignment, we're going to consider that a paragraph, even though it's just one simple statement. And so that'll be number 4, 5, 6, 7. Now you have to be careful that these paragraphs at the bottom of the page don't continue on to the next page, like this one right here. And if they do, just make sure you don't count that paragraph twice. Okay, we have 7 on the front, 7 at the top of the next page. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. This is a lengthy article. The first one we're reading is a little long compared to some of the others. We're going to be careful not to include subheadings as our paragraph. So if you see anything with a different style of text or maybe a different size font, make sure that you don't include it as one of the paragraphs. So we have 19. We're going to make sure that it's not the same paragraph on the back, which it's not. We're going to start with 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 31. 31 does carry over into the last page. So we'll count this as 31 as well. 32, 33, 34, 35. And since we're together on this last page, as you can see, we have some kind of short response question right here. So before we even read the article, let's go ahead and check that out so we can anticipate what we might want to respond with when the time comes. So many still argue that To Kill a Mockingbird should be removed from public schools because of how it approaches sensitive topics related to social justice and racism. Do you agree or disagree with those that wish to remove the book from classrooms? Why or why not? Please write your responses in the lines below. And then going back to the front page, I mean, you can just see the title right here. And you should already have an idea of what this article is going to be about just by looking at the title and the short response question. Retelling a Classic in 2018, The Debate Over To Kill a Mockingbird. How Creators and Educators Are Grappling with Problematic Text for Today's Audience. And so, as you can imagine, this article will be examining banned books in the classroom and whether or not the book that we're reading in this class, To Kill a Mockingbird, is especially relevant to today's audiences. Now, if you look right here by the byline, we'll see that this was written by Tashana Reed for CBC News. Now, this is a Canadian news organization. So, it's always important to understand who your audience is and how their perspectives might differ from yours. This article was also posted fairly recently. We can see that it was published December 8th, 2018. And so, it's fairly relevant and fairly new. Just 2 years old. So let's go ahead and start reading. Now, we have already numbered the paragraph, so you can go ahead and check that off. And then as we read together, you have a few jobs to do. Firstly, you are going to underline main ideas as they pop up through the article. Now, main ideas, these are the most important bits of information that the author is trying to present to you. And so as you read, just be mindful of that. If you find a sentence that produces an especially helpful fact, especially if it pertains to our mock trial coming up, whether it argues for or against keeping To Kill a Mockingbird in the classrooms, you're probably going to want to underline that. That'd be for the best. Also, we might come across some words that might be confusing to us. And if that's the case, what I would like for you to do is to circle those confusing words. Now, I do know that some of you guys are especially wonderful and literate, and you have vocabularies, that are just incredible. If that's the case, I still want you to circle those confusing $10 words that you think might, you might have had trouble with that before at a younger grade level. Or maybe, it's a word that, you don't hear too often from your peers. So if you come across some of those big $10 words, just go ahead and circle those, even if you do know what they mean. And so, you'll circle words that are confusing to you. And then I'm looking for at least 5 thoughtful mini summaries or mini statements that you can write in the right-hand margin. Now, I say right-hand margin, but if you want to write in the left because there's more room there, I'm not very picky about that. But what I do want to see is that as we're reading through this text together, you're analyzing it and you're thinking critically about it. And I want to track your train of thought in the margins of the article. And I ask that you do that at least 5 times throughout this entire article. And so that is what I'm looking for here. So let's go ahead and start reading together. When To Kill a Mockingbird debuts on Broadway for the first time this December, it won't be the version you may remember. Okay, we weren't going to pretend that 58 years hadn't gone by since the publication of the novel, Hollywood writer Aaron Sorkin said in an interview with CBS's 60 Minutes. Now, I'm going to go ahead and underline the first half of this statement right here because it explains to us exactly how old the novel is. And if it was 58 years ago, 2 years ago, it's been 60 years since this book's been, introduced into the world. So, that might help us with an argument later on down the road. Sorkin obtained the rights to Mockingbird from author Harper Lee before she died, but his version for the Broadway adaptation led to a now settled legal battle with her estate over changes he deemed necessary. His defense was simple. For a story about racial injustice, the only 2 African American characters have nothing to say on the matter. And so I'm going to underline that last quote right there because it does offer a unique perspective here, and that's that there is a lack of perspective of African American characters in this novel that teachers are using to teach, social justice and racism. Do you guys know what adaptation means? Did you guys circle that word by any chance? Yeah? Okay, when we talk about an adaptation, what we're talking about is taking an existing work. It can be a movie or a book, and we're adapting it to a different format or style. So it's like when you take a book and you adapt it to a movie. So, yeah, very good. He went on to call it a wasted opportunity. Published in 1960. Oh, and if you guys aren't following along, we're here on paragraph 5. See, that's why I get you guys to number the paragraph. So if we get lost, I can easily direct you where we're at. So, published in 1960, To Kill a Mockingbird tells the story of Tom Robinson, a black man falsely accused of raping a white woman in America's Deep South, and Atticus Finch, the heroic lawyer who steps in to defend him. And so I think right here, this paragraph, I want, this is pretty thought-provoking. This explains to me the story of To Kill a Mockingbird, and I think this would be a perfect place to put a mini summary. So what's one way that I can summarize this paragraph right here, this little bit of information? Exactly. What I'm going to do is I'm going to write here, summarizes, and I'm just going to write TK, To Kill a Mockingbird, TKAM. And folks, you do not have to write a complete sentence here. It's absolutely fine if you just write a fragment. I'm not looking for anything too extensive. A fragment is just fine. So, paragraph 6. The novel won a Pulitzer Prize, was adapted to an Oscar-winning film, and has sold more than 40 million copies. It continues to live in the hearts and minds of millions of readers. This fall, it was voted America's best-loved novel, and so I would probably underline that too. Why would I do that? Yes, you're exactly right. This shows that, by wider audiences, this novel is well loved and highly considered. Okay, this gives it a little more credibility. And so if you're arguing on the defense side of this case coming up, that would be helpful to your position. It might be worth looking into. All right, so we're going to take a little break right here. Thank you for following along, and we will continue annotating our article when we get back. Thanks for watching.